This is the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra. This is one of their newer 3D printers, which is essentially what they are calling a 12K resin printer. Now, a couple of information things about this 3D printer that might tickle your fancy. First and foremost, it has a cob plus Fresnel collimating, that's a really big word to say. Either way, all it means is there is a Fresnel lens and a cob LED at the bottom of this machine. It also has AR monitoring. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even figure out how to test that yet. It has a mechanical sensor, auto leveling, a 10-inch 12K mono LCD, and this new tilt release technology. My name is your dad, and this is Groundeffected, and what you may have noticed from the beginning of this video is that this machine comes extremely well protected in its little box on its way to its destination. Now, I have to be totally honest, this machine was sent to me over 2 months ago, just before I went to Formnext, and unfortunately I was way too busy to even think about dealing with this or anything else at the time. Elegoo hasn't paid me for this video, nor have they asked me even to release it at a specific date or time, nothing. This is completely off my own back if I make this video or not, and to be totally honest, I figured it is now time for me to make this video over 2 months later. So here I am making this video, and I'd like to say this is one of the very few machines I've had that have a Wi-Fi screw dongle dingle dangle that is already attached to the side of the machine. This means you just put your antenna on, and apparently this connects to your computer. Now, I'm going to be totally honest, up until previous machine of the GK3 Pro, I have not even used a single Wi-Fi printing method at all. So let's see how this goes. I'm also going to tell you as much as I can about this machine in the limited use that I'm going to have with using it. I'm going to be printing miniatures and some slightly larger 75mm and a little bit bigger than that, perhaps 1/10 scale busts. And this is how I'm going to be testing this machine for you in this video. Now, what you can see is that the build plate is slightly different to what you may be used to with other machines. It has these weird little poles that stick down and hold the build plate away from whatever is holding the build plate onto the Z-axis. The vat is nice and deep. It has enough space for you to put, I'm pretty sure, almost a full bottle of resin in there, which is pretty cool. It has this singular handed release catch thing, very similar to the GK machines. However, it's obviously not the same because of reasons. Anyway, it can be used with one hand, which is good, and you can literally shake the living daylights out of this, and it is pretty solid. I'm going to say that is probably attributed to the rails that are in the back as well. This is the AR camera, which I'm going to be totally honest, I never used even one little bit. That is because I just have absolutely no interest at all in any of this AR stuff or watching my prints or whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing with that camera. However, what I do have interest in is these lovely serious linear rails, as well as a nice chunky Z-rail, bar, whatever you call this thing. Words are really hard for me to say because I'm not a technical person in regards to using big fancy words. I'm more of a hands-on person, and I can fix your problem if it's in practical, but don't ask me to write a story about it. Now, the box that you get with it, with the usual tools, has the usual tools. This is the first machine which I never plugged in a USB into, which is kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. I just screwed this little dongle thing on the side, which is actually just an antenna, and I'm sure the dongle is actually inside of the machine, and that was it. The build plate has a really nice pattern on it. I like the pattern quite a lot. As you can see, it is a very nice geometric pattern, which I think is supposed to help keep your print sticking to the plate. And that's pretty much it with the machine. A couple of little quick fire information here. For the build volume, it is 218.8 by 112.8 by 220 millimeters. And like I said, it has a cob LED source. Minimum layer thickness is 0.01. You can print down to 19 by 24 microns. The models in this video were sponsored by C27 Minis and Terrain. This is a Patreon over on Patreon who create amazing sculpts in the miniature form for your miniature games. And now the gold tier, which is the bundle that I was sent to print for this video, I got sent November and December's just to print to test out this machine. And I'm going to be totally honest with you, when it comes to what you're getting for that tier, you are receiving at least 10 Marvel miniatures, at least 3 friggin' Star Wars miniatures, at the same time as access to their C27 Vault, which I'm looking at loads of miniatures, genuinely so many miniatures, and they are of absolutely highly detailed sculpts. And if you are interested in them and the models that you see in this particular video, you should definitely go check out C27 Minis. I know the owner of this Patreon personally, and he's been supporting this channel since day one, before I even put any videos on YouTube. And so just for that reason, you should go and support him too. If you want to see any of these models, then check out the description for a link to C27. I've just pulled off the first print from this printer that is an actual full build plate, and I think there is some problems. This is the newest Flatman version of Flat Boy, so I'm not gonna lie, I think that the leveling... I just dropped everything. It's okay, don't panic about it. So what I think, actually, to be totally honest, is the problem is that the leveling is not leveling the way it should be leveling, and this is why now I have pieces of stuff inside of the vat. I'm gonna be totally honest, the correct way of fixing this is to level this machine. However, if I was a newbie, I wouldn't want to do that, because that's a difficult thing to do, especially look how many screws there are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you what I think is gonna fix this problem without doing any mechanical stuff, and we're gonna still just have printed models that are not fails. And if it doesn't work, then we'll come back and level it. But first, we need to clear the screen, and hopefully there is a vat cleaning situation in here. Tank cleaning, perfect. The problem is I needed a glove now. So what I'm going to do is take one of these broader, bigger pieces here, and I'm going to stick that back in the vat, in the corner, just like this. And now I can't use this hand, so you're going to have to bear with me while I try to do this one-handed. Tank cleaning, and then 15 seconds should do it. And then I just kind of hold that down in the corner. What's going to happen is that this thing is going to glue to that bottom piece that's just going to cure as one little strip underneath the tank there, which is perfect. So this you can then pull out, and I can't do this because it's going to leak everywhere, so please hold. So the whole point of that screen clean is essentially just to cure the whole screen. So if there's any little like bits left on the screen inside of the vat, then you can just pull it out, and as you can see, that is just one big square screen essentially, so you can clean your screen. If that's how you just make sure there's nothing in there. You don't have to do any weird scraping. Like if you have a fail, then that's when you do the screen clean. If you don't have a fail and everything's perfect, there's no reason to do anything. So this is definitely not the right way to do this, but what I'm going to do is literally just increase my bottom exposure up to 30 seconds, and then it should stick, I hope. And if it doesn't stick, well, then we're gonna have to level the thing. Also, one other thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to change the rafts on every single one of these things to be not like this small little, these tiny little things here. I'm gonna change it to be pixelate. And after I've done that, I'm gonna change that down to 0.3 millimeters thick. But as you can see, that is much more for to grab onto the build plate. And this might just save me. By the way, these are all pre-supported by C27 Collectibles, so just so you know that, these are all pre-supported. And once I'm satisfied with everything, I'm going to go send it wirelessly to the printer by clicking send and print, and then click OK, and then the printer and the computer and everything just work harmoniously to just do the thing, and I don't have to do anything. I can now go play. So the print already started, and it's a good thing that the machine has a little bit of a reminder to remind me that there is insufficient resin detected, and I should add resin midway. And now, thankfully, that did tell me that, because there genuinely was insufficient resin detected. Speaking of resin, I am using Elegoo's new 8K Space Gray ABS-like 3.0 photopolymer resin with a UV wavelength of 405 nanometers. It's just ABS-like, so I guess you will see a result of not only the print but the resin as well. By the way, filling up the vat is not so easy, and so I ended up getting some onto the top of the build plate. So I had to wipe that off. Now let's just hope that whatever I did with changing the exposures works, because I really don't want to do any of the freaking leveling on this thing, and genuinely I think that we can maybe skirt this problem by just increasing the stick ability of the raft to the build plate in the first place. So I'm going to be totally honest here, the little trick of turning up the exposure definitely worked, but I'm an idiot and I didn't put enough freaking resin. But for now, I've got it to print without any issues, and it was just a matter of sorting out that little bit of exposure on the bottom, and I'm gonna reprint that. Well, I guess you want my opinion on this machine, and I'm going to tell you pretty much, to be totally honest, it prints amazing. Like, all machines at this point genuinely print amazing. And granted, some of them are going to have slight teething issues. Maybe some you just don't like the way that the plate connects to the Z rod. I don't really know what it is, but the truth is, most printers these days are going to print incredibly well, and most of this stuff is magic as it is in the first place. Being able to make something that didn't exist yesterday but today now suddenly exists is just magic. So the truth is, yes, for the price of this machine, I would say this printer is definitely worth it. It comes in below £400, which is something in dollars, and that's a very good price. But to be even more honest with you, I would say I'm slightly worried about the fact that the VAT moves. Maybe that's another failure point, but maybe it's not, and I've seen quite a few people using them over the last couple of months without any issues that I have known of. But I also haven't purposefully searched for issues with this particular machine. At the price point, it's worth it. That's my opinion. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, leave a little like, leave some comments in the bottom, because those comments are what keeps me going when I have nothing to do and I'm sitting on the toilet. Anyway, I would like to say a massive thank you to my patrons for supporting me on this YouTube, and it's because of them that the lights are blinding my eyeballs and helping me to keep creating videos every single week. If you like this video, like I said, you want to subscribe, you probably want to even share it with your gran, and if you didn't, well then, I actually don't care. And now, you should probably fuck off.